In progress.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Lunch and Learn, Raising Awareness, the Dark Side of Appeal. It is 1:30 Mountain Standard Time on June 21st. My name is Michelle Ricci, and I am joined by my council members, Naiva Florian, Carmela Velarde, and Tas Ferrara and Carmela Velarde, and we're going to be unpacking this important topic. So did you know that globally, grocers have a $2.5 trillion food waste problem? This is staggering. And instead of finding ways to get these foods into the hands of the poor or the impoverished, one man came up with a solution for the grocery industry that has retailers lining up to take advantage of. So let's go back to the beginning and the evolution and adaptation that allowed plants to move out of water and onto land, which was the growth of a thin organic polymer coating to prevent them from losing water. And all land plants have this coating to a certain degree. And you see, plants want to rot and decompose so that they can feed seeds and nourish and remineralize the soil. So James Rogers saw the need to produce food that will last longer by piggybacking off of an already perfect natural process. So the edible coating history of Apeel technology, which was founded in 2012 by James Rogers. He has a PhD in material science. So remember that. He's out of USC Santa Barbara, and he really started by researching and making flexible plastic solar panels. So this is a paint on the surface, hooked electrodes to solar energy that is gained through these thin films. So on a drive one day in SoCal, Southern California, he began to wonder if there was a film that could keep food from spoiling. And he started searching for a solution to the perishability of produce that he noticed growing abundantly on his drive. So initially this started as a thin polymer film, but who wants a polymer film, an industrialized polymer film on their foods? No one. So he started researching how food produces its own coating, like I mentioned before, which led him to discover what is called Apeel today and coining the market and optimizing shelf life. So he was named World Economic Forum Young Global Leader in 2020 and named 40 under 40. He also garnished an initial grant of $100,000 from the Bill Gates Foundation. Now, there's been no pre-market approval on this. So how did they get around it? Well, I'll tell you. They started by bringing it to market through the fresh cut flower industry and coating flowers to last longer. So people wanted that, and he did it. And this is another reason not to spend your money on flowers and to grow your own instead. After flowers, it became lettuce. Now today it's avocados and other fruits and vegetables. So this company is not publicly traded. They kept this close to their chest and introduced it through closed circles to some of the most influential investors on the planet. You know, James holds 178 patents specifically regarding Apeel, and they are patents across many countries regarding this coating. 88% of those patents are still active, giving Apeel and its investors a monopoly on this invention. Can you even do a patent on food? Let's see what happens. He has $719.1 million in funding. And so who are the investors in Apeel? Mainly today is the SLR Investment Group, along with SLR Capital Partners. And this is Michael Gross, Bruce Spohler, Stacy Allen, and many others. And you can find out who they are at www.slrcapitalpartners.com/team. So Apeel Sciences has acquired Impact Vision in May of 2021. And this is a Santa Barbara-based company that says it stands to dramatically reduce 40% of the produce that is wasted globally each year. The financial details of this deal are not disclosed, and Apeel's core product is currently being applied to fruits and vegetables using equipment the company has deployed in packing houses and distribution centers all across America and Europe. So Apeel is going to implement Impact Vision's imaging tech with this equipment to collect data and images as produce travels across these conveyance lines. In 2021, the estimate revenue was 22 million, which was up 21% for APEEL from 2020. And this makes money by selling their edible coating powder along with application equipment and on-site service teams to growers and suppliers. So APEEL claims they use foods to preserve food, and it doesn't need pre-market testing or long-term studies on health effects because it's GRAS, or generally recognized as safe certification. What does that even mean? And who decides what is generally safe, or how is it even made? To break this all down, Toss is going to join us with her special guest, Anthony Hollow. Toss is a geneticist and functional medicine doctor and specializes in regenerative medicine. And she's one of the original council members and is passionate about bringing this education to the masses. Toss, take it away.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So this is such an important topic. And I'm so happy that we are going to be explaining and dissecting what it's all about to all of you. So I want to introduce my guest, Anthony Hollows. So he's a professor of organic chemistry at the Mojave Community College in Bullhead City, Arizona. He holds a Master of Science in Organic Chemistry, a Bachelor of Science in Biology Science, both from California State University and Fullerton. And what better person to have on to talk about APEEL? So when we start talking about APEEL, listen to this. Next slide. Michelle. Michelle's taking it. Okay. Agricultural skin grafting. How does that feel? Doesn't feel good, right? It is an artificial skin being put on your food. Let that sink in. Think about that. Okay, let's go next. And how do we know? How do we know? Okay, so first of all, this is the next slide, sorry. How do we know that this is something artificial? We just spoke about this, that APEEL has over 178 patents globally, out of which 41 has been granted. What does that mean? You cannot, and listen when I say you cannot patent food, okay? So this is how we know this is chemically derived. This is not natural, because if you can patent it, it is absolutely not natural. And for them to have 41 patents that have been granted, this is a serious issue. Let's go to the next slide. So let's just dive deep and start understanding how it's made. So Anthony, can you explain to us of what an emulsifier is?
Okay.
Next. No.
Sure. An emulsifier, and this is in just simple terms. An emulsifier is a compound used to mix a polar and non-polar compound to form a heterogeneous mixture. Now let's break this down. A polar compound means that it can dissolve in water, and a non-polar compound can dissolve in oil or fat or grease or gasoline. When you're able to mix these two compounds together, polar and non-polar, you can form a homogeneous mixture. Next slide. Now, let's look at this compound E471. E stands for European Union. This is a European Union number, which identifies a saturated mono or diglyceride compound which cannot polymerize with each other. And when we say polymerize, it means that it can tangle up or connect to each other. So the European Union, E471 They are individual molecules that cannot connect with each other. They're individual, so they can be removed very easily from each other. Next slide.
So I want to explain though that the E here, so the E471, E, that means European,
Correct.
okay? So when you see that, that's what that means. And then when you see the 471, that is a combination of the mono and diglycerides.
Right. Now, when we look at the APEEL product, there is no E number for the APEEL product. So what they've done is categorize the APEEL product and they said, oh, it is an E471, but it's different. The E471 is different to the APEEL. The APEEL product is an unsaturated mono or diglyceride, which can polymerize into a plastic. All right. This means that they've hijacked the known E471 and is using that to cover up what its potential can be. Next slide.
So let's explain a little bit what this means, right? So the E471 in Europe, this is already a compound that's made, okay? But they don't have a term in the US of this sort. So they just brought over that labeling here, okay? That one was already approved. Because APEEL is new, they have no set labeling. So they just brought that over. So we call that the Trojan horse. Why do we say that? Because they are masking it under the E471 label. And on the inside, it's not at all what it is. It is something completely new. So the polymerization of these, the mono and diglyceride, becomes a plastic, okay? Next slide. And this plastic, well, what do we know plastic does, right? It does years of bioaccumulation. We know so much about xenoestrogens, endocrine disruption. It binds to your organs, leaky gut, Crohn's, IBS. I mean, we could be here and talk about this forever. The list goes on. And you know what happens? It then eventually leads to cancer. These are the microplastics that leach into your body.
So when the APEEL compound polymerizes, it turns into a plastic. And the name for this is called an acrylamide, or also known as a polyacrylamide. Now, according to the government website for California, if you're able to read this, it says an acrylamide or polyacrylamide is under the Proposition 65 list, which causes cancer. Exposure to acrylamide increases the risk of cancer.
I know what's really interesting about that is when you were telling me how this is found on bread labels.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
And then there was another one that as we posted this image. Can we go to the next slide? That is the bread labeling.
Yes.
Right? And not only is it found in bread labeling, you were telling me it's found in
Leaf
acrylic.
press-on nails, or any of the nails that you would get at the manicurist, the fake nails that you have put on. This is a polyacrylamide. So that's what this APEEL compound is forming, but it's a thin coating. It's not as thick as your nail. It's just a thin coating on the outside of your fruits and vegetables.
So they're making it seem that they're doing good for the environment, for removing all of the plastic, right? But they're putting this transformative plastic that is actually going into the food, and who knows what it's going to do.
Right.
Right? They say, the next slide, they say that it's non-GMO. For the next slide.
They say that it's non-GMO, but when you look on their website, there is no certification with a butterfly that says non-GMO verified.
Therefore, it's not.
Also, as Dr. Toss was talking about, you cannot patent anything that's natural. You can only patent something that's synthetic. So this is a synthetic compound, even though on their website, they claim that it came from grapeseed oil. after they have played with it and manipulated it, it's not natural anymore. Next slide. Okay, now let's understand the environment that we live in. We live in an oxygenated environment, which means oxygen reacts with foods and makes them oxidize so they age. That's actually a good thing because you know that there is no preservative on the fruit or vegetables that you're about to eat. Oh, back on the other page. Sorry. So, yes, right here. So by living in an oxygenated environment, when you open up fruits or vegetables and leave them on the counter, they turn brown. Everyone has seen this before. A banana will turn brown, an avocado will turn brown, mangoes will turn brown, everything turns brown. Next slide.
And that's nature's course, right? This is completely natural.
Correct. Also, there are some fruits that release ethylene gas to ripen. We have a picture to the right, which has a little plastic that's wrapped around the stem of a banana. Because the stem of the banana releases ethylene gas, which then, once it touches the rest of the fruit, starts to age it, start to get the aging spots, right? So this is why when you put a banana into a bag and you seal the bag, the ethylene gas that is produced from the stem fills into the bag and starts to make the whole fruit ripen.
Right. Oxidizes, becomes that brown color.
Correct.
So now with a peel, what are we looking for? What's going to happen to our fruits and vegetables?
Exactly. Next slide.
Oh, this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
What does a peel do to fruits and vegetables and even to fresh fruits, fresh flowers? It becomes a sealant from the exterior. So it prevents oxygen and ethylene gas from touching your fruit and vegetable. How does this benefit? Or this is what APEEL claims that it's going to do. It's going to extend the shelf life of your fruit and vegetable. But what's happening on the inside of the fruit or the vegetable? It's actually degrading.
So the appearance on the outside, it's going to look like a beautiful yellow banana or a ripe avocado. But on the inside, the same oxidation will be happening.
Correct. And also the nutrients is actually breaking down. They always say vitamin C is the highest amount right after you pick the fruit. And as you wait day by day, vitamin C is disappearing. So we don't know how long the fruit or vegetable would have been if you have a peel. It could be 1 month and it still looks brand new, but it's sat there and all the vitamins are all gone, or the potency of the vitamins are gone. So if we look here, we have pictures here of bananas with the peel and without a peel. You can see without a peel, the banana turns brown. With the peel, you'll see the banana still looks like it's still fresh. There's no dots on it, right? Next slide. Again, let's look at mangoes. You can see right in the middle there, after 15 days, that's 2 weeks and a day, the mangoes still look brand new. Whereas when we have just on the right side, you can see it's waxed, and on the left side is not even coated. It's not labeled. But you can see they're already aging, right? And here is the logo that you will see, and this is not on every product. They have already made a commitment to not even put their logo on a lot of products, but they will be putting it on some of the products. This is being put onto an avocado. Next slide. And then here is their little sign that would be sitting in front of your fruits and vegetables, maybe at Whole Foods. Hopefully Whole Foods is not going to accept this because this is not natural. But they try to say, oh, we're protecting the plants by not using plastic. So you don't have to remove that plastic and throw it into the trash. Instead, there's a synthetic plastic already on that fruit or vegetable.
And you know what else? Let's go back to the other slide. You know what else they're doing? I saw in the chat that someone wrote that greenwashing, right? They're talking about the no plastics and how environmentally safe they are. But it's another thing that they're doing. They're playing on words. This word, appeal, right? What do we hear when we hear the word appeal? It's appealing. It appeals to you. I like that, right? Don't you like things that appeal to you? So, I mean, this is the ultimate form of greenwashing. They're playing on your emotions. They're playing on your sense of you want to be righteous in the world. You want to be part of the organic movement. You want to be part of being plastic free and helping the environment, but you don't really understand that what you're contributing is actually harming the earth on so many microscopic levels. Okay, so how worried should we be? Okay, this is what we're all about here. So let's talk about GRAS. So the health impacts and what does acceptable even mean? And who decides this? And what research shows us about ingesting emulsifiers? So what is GRAS? So first of all, GRAS is an acronym for generally recognized as safe. Did you guys know that? I had no idea. I thought it was a whole scientific term, but it just means generally recognized as safe. Right? Doesn't that really strike something in us? That's what the FDA says. And as the Million Mom Movement and all of you fellow awareness humans, whenever the FDA says something, what do? We go the complete opposite direction. If the FDA approves it, we have to be super aware of what are they approving. If the FDA says it's safe, what's their reputation, right? We know that. Compounded for synthetic medicine. They put a barrier in natural medicine. We see this all the time. Whenever the FDA puts their stamp of approval, you know what I do? I avoid it. Like glyphosate, always do your research and know what you're getting involved with. Okay, so this is a story of one of my patients. It's an example of what they're deeming safe. Her whole life, she thought she was allergic to fruits and vegetables. She avoided fruits and vegetables her entire life, not knowing about what was deemed safe, about organic fruits and vegetables, absolutely no idea. And then when she came to me one day and I told her, you know what, I think it could be the pesticides, the heavy metals, and all of the toxins. Maybe you should try having organic fruits and vegetables. And then she did. And you know what happened? She no longer had a reaction. And she thought this was a generational thing, that her and her family could not consume any fruits and vegetables. But you know what? GRAS deemed that safe, and it's absolutely not. So this is another thing why we always stress buying organic certification for your fruits and veggies. And what are some common processed food with mono and diglycerides that we were talking about in the beginning? I mean, there's so many countless foods out there, and these are all processed foods, right? Like these are just some of them that I could find. But let's go to the next slide. And let's look at some common food that does not have mono and diglycerides. There is none, right? You can't find any. And this is because it does not exist. You cannot have it in organic foods. So if they're saying APEEL is organic, it absolutely is not. This is how we're showing you and we're teaching you how to dissect these labels, right? And Michelle will go into and explain to us why and who uses it.
Thanks so much, Tuss. So who uses it, who doesn't, and why? So out of this big list, and I think you might be surprised or maybe not at who is using it, but I wanted to highlight first, one of my favorite companies for groceries is Nature's Grocers and their ethics and standards. They said no, and they're not going to do it. One of our community members wrote a message and asked Nature's Grocers if they would be carrying APEEL, and this is the response that she got back from them. Thanks for reaching out. Providing great quality produce is our top priority, and we understand your concerns regarding APEEL being applied to your produce. Natural grocers will not be using APEEL at the store level. We have also been in communication with our produce vendors and have informed them that we will not accept a product sprayed with APEEL. Since it has been approved for USDA organic produce, our stores are aware of this and will also make sure that the produce we receive does not have APEEL applied. Thanks for contacting us to discuss. And yesterday I tried to call Safeway and I couldn't even get through and find an answer. I understand that they're owned by Albertsons as a mother company, but I love the transparency of this company and the fact that they are absolutely willing to respond to clients and they have transparency. So that's wonderful. Let's take a look at the secured partnerships. So these are the fruits and companies that are producing, like Del Monte, there's a big name, Eco Farms, Del Rey, Horton Fruit. All of these companies are getting set up with this equipment at this level and spraying the food as they produce it. So APEEL here again is another picture of their partnerships. And if you go to the APEEL website, there's a list of who they're partnered with. They proudly display, whoops. Looks like that slide got missed. So let me back up. Whole Foods is on the list. Let me take a look. I'll pull it up from my phone really quick if you guys don't mind. Here you go, guys. Costco. So maybe somebody can put this in the comments for me. Costco, Trader Joe's. That's no surprise. Trader Joe's is heavily the grocers industry and spends a lot of money, which spends a lot of money on anti-labeling laws. Gelson's, G-E-L-S-O-N-S, Ralph's, Sprouts, completely greenwashed company, Vons, Walmart, Kroger, Harps, Food, Wake Fern, Price Right, Fairway Market, Target, Bristol Farms, and more. So, go to the website and check out all of the grocers and retailers that sell this product and decide, vote with your dollar. So what can we do? Well, we can look out for the APEEL label. We do get to vote with our dollar. And it seems like, made this decision for us, unbeknownst to us as consumers and as the community at large. We don't really know. It just went to market. And so I know sometimes it can feel like we're helpless, and I don't want to be an alarmist, but we do need to take our head out of the sand and make sure that we are taking measures. There are things that we could do besides not going to Target to get our vegetables and voting with our dollar. There are other ways that we can mitigate this in our community and help spread this education. So I'd like to bring Carla up next, who's going to unpack this part of it and help us understand what else we can do to make sure that we are not incorporating these things into our lives inadvertently. Carmela.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Taz, so much, Taz. And thank you, Anthony. What an illuminating call so far. Let's go to the next slide. So we're here to also shine light on what we can do, right? We're a community of solutions. Let's keep going. We've learned so much already just in this past call. What is known about the effect of how it turns into a plastic, and
anyway, these dietary emulsifiers definitely impact the intestinal and cardiovascular and metabolic health. And there's so many mechanisms that modulate the biology of the gut microbiota, which is why our company that we're with, this community, is very passionate about gut health and protecting the microbiome. So what we want to do to move forward sustainably are think of these things. Next slide. So we want to be aware of what APEEL is, so refresh and understand what it is that we're really dealing with here, what it's made of, and who chooses to produce this. So where can we avoid it, right? Like, we've shared a lot of information with you. Be proactive. The second is wash all your produce before consumption, contact your local CSA and our Purium Superfoods. Next slide. So I want to get into it. So this is what APEEL says. Can you wash APEEL off? This is their response. You could likely remove some of the APEEL with water and scrubbing, but it's unlikely that you'll remove all of it without damaging the fruit or vegetable. So they're almost like deterring you from doing it. APEEL forms a barrier of edible material on the skin peel, and it wouldn't maintain the fruit's freshness if it were easily removed. So it's very tight to the produce. For that reason, we only use food ingredients to make APEEL. So right there, we're calling you out. We work with our partner to ensure APEEL produce is labeled. So many of you had asked in the chat, how can we find out what has APEEL on it? So definitely look for the signage, the APEEL labeling. When considering what produce to buy, check the label. So next. And so these are natural ways we can preserve the integrity of fruits and vegetables that we recommended with the Million Mom Movement. Our recommendations are simple, are clean, are pure. So soak in water using produce. Soak in water using Himalayan sea salt for 20 minutes. Researchers have found that 10% of salt water solutions are effective for removing common pesticide residues, including DDT. Number 2, Prescribed for Life. This is the one that I carry in my house where I wash my fruits and vegetables. They are organic. They are also aluminum free. I use a bicarbonate soda, so basically a baking soda, where you can add a tablespoon of bicarbonate, 2 cups of water, and soak for 15 minutes, and then you rinse with water after. And the vinegar. So I soak in vinegar and water for 20 minutes, and you need to use 1 part vinegar, 4 parts water. So 10 milliliters of vinegar would need to be mixed for 40 milliliters of water, for instance. So if you've got like bushels or things like that you're washing, I tend to do them all together, and I always wash everything that I consume. Porous fruits like berries may become soggy when soaked for too long, so I don't typically do it in vinegar. I'll do it in the bicarbonate. Ozone treatment for fruits and vegetable disinfection is actually an excellent alternative. Ozone doesn't leave harmful residues. It is actually a really effective way to disinfect, and I have a machine at home that I use, and it just put it into the water, it bubbles up, and that ozone comes through, the oxygenation comes through, that life comes through. And I noticed that ozone is actually listed as in GRAS. Which is interesting. So it's like, yes, but then no. Well, here's a solution instead of, right? Okay, let's go to the next. So what is a CSA? I mean, I definitely didn't know. When I didn't know, I really didn't know. And I was like, what? They're out there for all of us to be able to tap on and get to know. They're community supported agricultural systems. So they're local organic farmers who actually want your support. If you go out, basically you would fund a share in that season's yield. So when you put money towards the share, then the farmer works together because of your financial contribution to farm the seasonal vegetables organic. And you know who that person is, you know how their farming practices are. And if you look in your neighborhoods for biodynamic, I have ones that specifically like licensed with the Rodale Institute. So that's biodynamic farming. You know that the regenerative farming practices that our community, Purium, also subscribes to. This is in line. This is in alignment. Next. And what are the benefits? Oh, next slide. Yeah. What are the benefits of CSAs? So we're giving you options instead of the appeal. I know it's not going to be easy. You guys are constantly label reading now. We're constantly bombarded by the toxicities, right? I'm a mom of a 10 and 12-year-old. I get it, but we have to do better. So what are ways that we can naturally infuse our family with better options, right? So CSAs, creating a relationship with a CSA, strawberry picking. If foraging is allowed in that CSA, it's amazing to bring your children to. I have one of them that allows you to do that. You forage berries. And seriously, eating it off of the branch, chemically free, you know the farmer, the relationship is so pure. Number two is, well, lower cost, pesticide chemical-free produce at a lower cost than grocery stores. Like, let's just get out of the big boxes. Well, if we vote with our dollars, right? Follow the money, all the things, it all connects with money. So think about cost for you and your family. How can you reduce in a sustainable way? Well, a CSA. And well, I'm going to get to Purium, of course, but this is also considered like you're a personal CSA because you have a relationship and you understand what you're getting. And truly, people who impart a membership with CSAs, they save roughly $500 to $1,000 a year if you did not purchase from big box or conventional markets. Number three, so feeding yourself and your family chemical-free produce. I mean, this is also a key reason why. I mean, APEEL is going to be on top of organic produce in stores. So this is also very alarming, and this is why we're coming to you. Number four, the privilege of eating vibrant harvested fruit. Number five, access to heirlooms of unusual varieties, which is really precious. Creating for yourself, this is the good stuff. Know the farmer, cultivate a relationship to the earth, create a relationship with whole foods. This is our solution for you. Yes, this is a toxic world. And yes, we have to really understand the science behind what they're doing to prolong shelf life of fruits and vegetables, but there's other things we can do and promote for our families. So for the farmers, we're supporting them. Think about the farmers. Like, we need to shun away from these industrial farmers, obviously, by voting for our dollars, but let's have better cash flow for the farmers as they plan for a new season. And they deal with so many things. They're constantly maintaining, improving fertility of the soil health and the biodiversity, and they reduce erosion of the soil. That's their work. Organic farming lowers the risk of environmental pollution and helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions by severely restricting the use of manufactured chemical fertilizers and pesticides, which come from burning fossil fuels. They have better planning of resources, right? There's better time management for seasonal growing and eliminating the middleman. And the middleman is also part of the problem with sustainability. Transportation, packaging, selling the produce. Okay, so what's the benefits to the environment? So we're telling you all the pluses, and because we don't want to leave you on a down note, obviously, we're here to educate on the positives of really connecting with local farming and understanding who you're purchasing your produce from. So the environment's less CO2 emissions from the energy required to transport and refrigerate produce across long distances. I know your produce isn't coming necessarily always from your neighborhood. It's from Ecuador or Florida or California. Think of all that manpower required. Number two, there's no groundwater pollution from pesticides and fertilizers, which is inevitable. Three, we do no damage to the fish population or the pollution by the runoff of fertilizers that feeds oxygen depleting organisms and throws off the balance. of all of our fisheries, lakes, ponds. The management of healthy nutrients, I mean, the cycling of the soil, composting, by maintaining the balance of things like nitrogen, phosphorus, and methane in the soil. This means the soil remains productive for the generations to follow. So this is why we're talking about the importance of pure and organic, and I'll promote this all day, every day, and teach my children this. This is what we need to pass the word on, not what's coming in. The humane treatment of animals. I mean, there's so much hidden costs in the pesticides and fertilizer production industry. I mean, $1 billion size industry. It's a huge industry. And tipping the balance. So we are here to do just that in activism. So we're proactively asking you to really educate yourself as to why these benefits are really here for you to just take on and adopt. Next. And so we're going to leave you with this, and this is our recommendation. You know, why is it that Purium Superfoods can say that we are as pure as we are? And, you know, we have an in-house microbiologist that runs every single ingredient through 5 tiers of quarantine before an infrared molecular scan to match for its purity. It means no GMOs. Pesticides, herbicides, we are a plastic-free company, no artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, vitamins, binders. You do not see this often. My ladies in the council, we just have come from a wonderful conference, and the organic section is small. The world we live in is unaware. So this checklist is remarkable and important. And if we need to think of a fresh future, a real future, we have to consider that we are coming together as a community to tell our friends and family that these things matter. And see, number 2 with us, besides certified organic farming with our Purium Superfoods, is the farming practices. So the purity matters, labels matter, what's in everything we consume matters. So we can prevent through whole food, real food, without any additives, preservatives, emulsifiers. So thank you so much all for, for taking the time to listen and learn. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank the work that you ladies have put into this, and also Anthony for flying out and joining us for this super important topic. I can't think of a better person to have helped us with delivering this message. You know, that checklist that Carmela just went over is just print it off and look at some of the companies that you are doing business with and just see who comes close. Like, wouldn't that be an interesting social experiment to understand? I mean, we're in the world, and it's not a perfect world. And like Carmela said, that this organic section of the world is small, and it's getting smaller, but our voices are getting louder. And that's the whole point of us and what we do here every day with the Million Mom Movement, is helping you raise your voice in this everyday activism. So please compare. Be aware, be mindful, bring this type of presence into everything you do, because the way you shop, the way you prepare, the way you cook, and the way you pray and consume your food has a direct impact on your health and the quality of the life that you lead. And so thank you everybody for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and if there's any questions, we'll stay on for a few more minutes. But thank you so much. This is such an important topic, and we just appreciate you sharing this far and wide. And of course, you know you can count on us. As we get more information, we're going to be giving the information directly to you so you can go out and lead a meaningful life and impact your community in the same way. So thanks again, everyone.